Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you're operating in the fields of media, journalism, and communication, you already know the deal. Establishing a sustainable, highly impactful academic career can honestly feel like a completely uphill battle. I mean, trying to balance teaching, mentoring, and administrative duties while also maintaining a relentless publication schedule is, well, it's a massive challenge. But today we're unpacking a radically simple, highly effective framework that solves this exact problem. It's a playbook for transforming all those disparate, heavy academic duties into one cohesive, rapid publication engine. Let's get into it.
To do this, we're going to reverse engineer Professor Ayobami Ojebode's phenomenal 21-year success into a 5-part playbook. We'll look at his fast-track timeline, how to find your research niche, building what we call a collaboration ladder, the hybrid-concentric model, and finally, how to put together your very own academic playbook.
So, starting off with Part 1, the fast-track professor.
You know, in academia, the path to full professorship is usually treated like a really long marathon. But Professor Ojebode, he basically treated it like a sprint. 35 publications, and just to put that into perspective, this isn't over a lifetime. That number represents his aggressive, laser-focused output in just a 5-year window, right, between 2008 and 2013. When you break that down, it's an astonishing volume of scholarly output. We're talking an average of 7 publications a year, spanning journal articles, book chapters, and public policy materials. You absolutely do not hit numbers like that by accident, and for sure not without a highly structured system.
And when we map his career out on a timeline, the acceleration is literally incredible. He started his teaching career back in 1997 at the University of Ibadan, and we start seeing his mapped publication tracking by 2004. But look at 2008. That is the exact moment he launches that aggressive 5-year strategy we just mentioned. This highly systematic approach yielded such undeniable results that by 2013, he completely bypassed the associate professor stage. No associate professorship at all. He just hit full professorship in record time. And the impact didn't stop at just his own publications. By 2020, wrapping up a 9-year leadership run at the Department of Communication and Language Arts, he had generated 41 PhD graduates and 13 first-class undergraduate degrees. It's just wild.
All right, moving on to Part 2, finding your research niche.
Now, a super common mistake emerging scholars make is trying to be a jack of all trades, right? They end up spreading their research way too thin across totally unrelated topics. Ojebode did the exact opposite. He anchored his entire career around a very specific, highly relevant niche, muted voices. So he wasn't just studying communication in some broad, abstract sense. He focused strictly on indigenous, mass, and other communication media, specifically within the context of Nigeria's unique political, economic, environmental, and social development. He basically dedicated himself to investigating and providing solutions for these muted voices. It turns out that deep, concentrated focus allows you to become the undeniable expert in a specific room rather than just being another voice in a massive crowd.
Looking at 16 years of his mapped publications, you can see this really deliberate balance. 29% of his work was devoted to development, 26% to environmental issues, 25% social, and 20% economic. So, what does this tell us? It proves that establishing a deep, specific niche absolutely does not limit you. Instead, it actually gives you a robust framework to explore all sorts of interconnected societal issues, but in a very structured way.
But you might be wondering, how on earth do you maintain that level of focus with intense teaching and supervision duties? Well, his rule was strict. He said, I can only supervise students whose interests fall within my broad area of research interests. He supervised over 150 undergraduate projects and 120 master's theses. By aligning his student supervision strictly with his own core research, he wasn't dividing his time between teaching and researching. He was actively integrating his teaching duties directly into his rapid publication pipeline. Every single student he guided was simultaneously advancing his core research agenda. Talk about a win-win.
Okay, let's hit Part 3, the collaboration ladder.
If having a niche focus is your steering wheel, then collaboration is absolutely the accelerator pedal. Now, both single and co-authorship have their strategic place. Single authorship is highly effective for deep, singular explorations. In fact, single authorship heavily dominated his environmental research. But when we zoom out and look at the broader picture of rapid career progression, high-volume co-authorship is the real driver. It builds your visible networks, it lets you tackle way larger projects, and crucially, it spurs upcoming scholars into greatness.
And the data totally backs this up. Over 60% of his 63 mapped publications were collaborative efforts.
Plus, he wasn't just sitting back as a passive participant, he actively led the charge as the first author or editor in over 55% of those joint efforts. Between 2008 and 2013, which, remember, was his most aggressive publication phase, his collaborative efforts with colleagues all over the world just spiked massively. I mean, in 2010 alone, he produced 7 publications purely through strategic collaboration across both communication and non-communication sectors. Yet, and this is important, it wasn't just about ruthlessly accumulating first author credits. He actually noted that while the person who brings the idea is usually first author, he sometimes deliberately cedes that right to help make a junior person also visible. I think this is profound. By lifting up emerging scholars, you aren't just being generous. You are literally solidifying your own academic legacy. You're creating immense loyalty, and you're building this vast, dedicated collaborative network that will continue to generate research for decades to come.
All right, let's jump to part 4, the hybrid-concentric model.
The core philosophy tying all this daily academic work together is that these 4 pillars, mentoring, teaching, research, and community service, they are not separate boxes you just check off. Professor Ojebode perfectly situates his energy right in the exact place where these 4 footpaths meet. It's brilliant. His teaching informs his mentoring drives his applied research, his research leads directly to community service and policy engagement. Absolutely no effort is wasted. When he gave a keynote to the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, or when he consulted for the World Bank, it wasn't a distraction. It was a direct extension of his academic research. The parts constantly feed the whole.
A former student and current lecturer, Kamaruddin Saladin, actually noted that Ojebode possessed the key to simplifying complex theory. By demystifying these really tough concepts in the classroom with functional techniques, like he created and distributed this free study material called Quick Walkthrough Research Methodology, Professor Ojebode wasn't just fulfilling a basic teaching requirement, he was actively cultivating a highly capable future research team. Solution-driven teaching literally creates capable collaborators.
And finally, part 5, your academic playbook. So it's time to translate all this architecture into action. Here is your 4-step playbook. Step 1. Lock in a hyper-focused research niche. Honestly, stop trying to publish a little bit of everything. Find your specific angle, kind of like that muted voices concept, and just own it entirely. Step 2. Align your teaching and supervision directly with your research. Start treating your students as extensions of your research lab. Step 3. Prioritize high-volume co-authorship. Lift up junior scholars, share the credit, and build a massive collaborative network. And Step 4. Integrate teaching, research, mentoring, and service into that hybrid-concentric model. We really need to stop viewing our academic duties as competing for our time, and instead design them so they feed into one another. If you execute these 4 steps, you will systematically transform your daily academic grind into a cohesive, rapid publication engine. Which brings us to the ultimate question. It's time to build your own changemaker model. You've got the structural playbook, but you have to provide the substance. Look at the media, journalism, and communication landscape around you right now. What specific gap in the world are you going to start solving through your publications today? What muted voices will your research amplify? Take these lessons, structure your time, and go make an impact.